Alright, so the reason for making this video as we load into my shapes world is I want to build upon the ideas of making a MAM and how we can make more than just a single belt MAM. I already posted a tutorial on how to make a single belt MAM. Looks like my system is broken anyways, um, but we're just going to ignore that for now. Okay, so my world's changed a lot since the last tutorial video, as well as, I'm at a much higher level than what I was during that time. Okay, but in that MAM video, I show you how to make just one belt of a MAM. However, that's not practical. Um, as you can tell by the hub, you have 16 inputs, and with supercharging, kind of a interesting concept that you can play around with late game, where you can put in more, technically, than 16 belts into a hub. Um, you having 16 individual MAMs is not fun, especially when you have to pipe resources from all across the map. And so what I wanted to talk about is how we would go about making more than one belt MAM, right? So as we see here, if we look here, up here, this way, this is one dual belt MAM. Okay, you can tell it's a dual belt because each section here, there's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 into the hub, right? So this is corner, the half layer creation, full layer creation, top half, bottom half, final stacking, right? What you'll notice is that this is actually one MAM here, the line is here, and this is another dual belt MAM. Together, these make 4 belts, but with separate inputs. So this is inputting over here, and this is over here. Down here, this is something that I've personally come up with and kind of pioneered, but it's a tri-MAM, it's a 3-belt MAM. Each of these sections has 3, right? So it's making 3 belts of shapes, 1, 2, and 3. My little system here for auto-completing levels is broken, probably because something got messed up. I've been doing some reworking of the designs, and so I've had some issues that I just haven't really finished out yet. But I still wanted to talk about how to make more MAMs. Okay, so I'm going to jump way over here. Here's some fun storage designs. But I'm going to jump down here. Alright, and so in that original video, I talked about a storage design that looked something like this. So we had a bunch of storages, we had a bunch of filters, right? And then you had this went up. So this is just a sample test, right? So you'd have something like this. These would be your shapes, and these would be your colors. And we would run that accordingly out this way from the MAM. And you would have tunnels that would branch it to the next set of storages, right? So just like that. And then you could pick this up, copy and paste, so on and so forth, from the inputs down here at the bottom. This is great. This is what I used for the single belt MAM. And this storage design with the appropriate number of storages, 7 for each color and 12 of each shape, will work for a single belt, will work for up for a dual belt MAM. Here, let me switch this to full screen. Should have done this before I started recording, but it's whatever. It takes a while to load because of how big my world is. Full screen, there we go. Alright. That way you don't have the silly stuff at the bottom and at the top. Put more focus onto the actual game itself. Alright. And so the next thing I'm going to show you is an improved storage design. And this design was invented by a guy named Z-Man. Z-Man. He's in the Shapes Discord. Alright. And his design is featured here. Alright. So what you'll see, alright, is you'll see 12 storages for shapes. 1, 3 for each of the actual shapes, right? And then 1 for each color. But what you'll notice is that this goes into a kind of this balancer chain, and then the next set of storages is offset. What this does is this allows for shapes to continue passing through and almost kind of skipping this storage. So shapes come in. This is at a 1-to-1 rate all the way through, more or less, right? But this one skips the storage and goes straight into this balancer chain, sends one this way, and then fills up this guy. This guy will then continue sending one, skips this guy into here, balances again. And what this does, this allows for a staggering system, meaning that if the MAM, a 3-belt or a 4-belt MAM, where you'd have 4 of these systems, it would be able to withstand such a need in case you had a shape that, let's see here, this has, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 different circle layers. So shapes can randomly require a lot of stuff. All right, and so this is kind of confusing to look at. But to build this one, this storage design, again, you can actually pause and copy and paste. But you're just gonna do the same design as before, but the change is gonna be after here. All right, so we'll go back here. If we wanted to change this now to fit our new kind of staggered improved MAM storage input buffer, if you will, what we're going to do is we can actually copy and paste that, Control X, just move that out of there for now. We're going to swap all of these for tier 2 tunnels. All right, just for the sake, I'm going to do something like this. Oops. All right, then we're going to go Control, copy and paste like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to fill this with balancers. And then we can go here, hold Control, and just fill it up. And then we can grab our storages, or actually, I'll grab this guy, Control C. And then what we're going to do is we're actually going to offset it by 1. All right. So that'll be like this, this, like that, right? And then we'll have this, Control C, and the exact same position. All right, so this way, this one is connecting here. See that? See how this one connects here, and this one runs straight through here. Now the only thing you'll need to make sure is that these have the double X's on here. And then once you have this section designed, you can just go ahead and just kind of copy paste it. Just make sure you keep it in line. And then of course you'll want to add these here. Alright, and so again, if we're making a MAM, we have how many corners? 16. So we're going to need 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to need 16 of these storages. Alright, so that just goes to show how we would increase the input and maintain the number of shapes we have coming through. Now I'm going to talk about how we provide more than just one belt. Okay, so we are a fan of the double painters because why? It only uses one paint for 2 shapes. However, there is a double painter bug. Alright, double painter bug, where instead of 4 double painters, we need 5. Okay, what this means is that the rate at which the double painters outputs is a little bit slower, and so we get a little bit behind. Okay, so in the 1 belt MAM, if you remember, I used 2 double painters to account for this bug, right? And those 2 double painters was able to handle 1 quad cutter, all right? So if we take this idea of 2 double painters is equal to 1 quad cutter, which is equal to 1 belt, we can apply this. So 3 double painters would be necessary for a 2 belt MAM. 4 DP would be equal to a 3 belt MAM. And then 5 double painters will be necessary for a 4 belt MAM. The true ratio in conversion goes all the way up to 9 double painters for 8 belt. But that requires 2 sets of shape inputs, and it's crazy. But we just kind of want to focus in here on this small subset and how we do it. All right. So you're going to take your favorite double painter design. I'm going to just steal the one I have here because I really like it. Shapes go in. We have, again, the uncolored bypass. Skips everything, goes straight into cutting. we have the shape filters that check to make sure it's good shape, and we have the colors to make sure it's good color. All right, so we just take that, and now if we want a dual belt MAM, we only need 3 double painters. Does that make sense? Because of the double painter bug, these 3 double painters will be sufficient for 2 belts. If I jump up here to this dual belt MAM, you can see here it's twisted, but I have 3 double painters that work here for these 2 quad cutters. All right, and I'll actually just kind of take these from up here. All right, and all we're going to do for a double belt MAM would just be to run inputs like this. All right, and then there is our 2 outputs for our double belt. And then we would just take this again and just copy and paste it above. And then we would worry about stacking. So to continue with this double painter here, all right, we're going to go here. And then again, this is actually the stacking design I used in the last video. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick it up and I'm just going to take 2 of them this time. And I'm going to put them here. All right. So what this does now is instead of just stacking 1 belt, we can actually stack 2. So we'll just run this one into there. Remember, we have to skip 1 to go into here. This one goes right there. And then we just got to do a little jump. All right. And just like that, we now have 2 belts of shapes being produced. All right. And we can now carry this design all the way through. Right. So here we go. We can just copy and paste all of this. Oops. Again, just drop it in. Right there. All right. I know it's not even, but this is just for the sake of explaining. All right. And so just like that, we now have a dual belt MAM, or at least the start of it. Here we go. Drop in one of these, and again, you're just kind of matching up the inputs. So here, we're going to skip a little bit. This belt, skip there, and then this belt will go right there. All right, and so that's kind of how a dual belt MAM would come to existence. All right, by putting in an extra double painter here, we can account for 2 quad cutters. All right, which again, we can turn all 4, which produces a full belt of output. Okay, so if we look up here to my tri-MAM, my 3-belt MAM, again, I have 4 double painters, which goes into 3 quad cutters, which goes into 3 stackers, and so on and so forth. Just as a single belt MAM would, except it's just making 3 belts. And by doing so, by having 2 3s and 2 2s, I now have 10 belts that I ultimately use to complete levels with. Not actually sure why this broke. Why is this not making shapes? We'll do a little MAM testing right quick. Something broke. See? Just a little troubleshooting. Just remember, if you have a 3-belt MAM, you have to fix 3 belts at the same time. So something happened here. That's funny. I wonder why it wasn't working, huh? Oh, that's awkward. So that'll take a little bit of time. That'll make sense why the MAM broke then, because it didn't have any white. What are you? You don't belong there. Now I'm like paranoid, double checking everything else. Yeah, these guys just... So you don't have... Okay, so we were slowly running out. But see, so this is that staggered filling. See how this is filling, and this is kind of staggering, right? This is kind of how effective that thing is. I know it's kind of a lot to look at. Right. But again, so this is all we do. And so now you might be thinking, well, how practical is it to make more belts? Well, it's extremely practical. As long as you can maintain some sort of speed with it, you can complete levels fairly quickly. I know my MAM is broken right now, but I have about a 40-second turnover time using this stop gate buffer system. But if we look here, I do have quite a high belt speed of 24.9, basically 25 items per second, which is pretty cool stuff. And again, I have rocket logo and bouquet always constantly going in. So see how fast it's filling up? Actually, we might be able to sneak a level past if I turn it on right now. So I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this guy. Oh, stop that. There you go. So what that'll do is that'll stop the MAM completely. Right? And so we're going to wait for this to fill up with shapes. They'll start filling in. Yeah, see that's run out of white paint, but it's okay because again we're only using 3 white paint here for 6 shapes at a time. Alright, so now I should just be able to turn that on. All the belts are flowing, which is nice. And then if we look here, boom, level complete. And so then we can watch the system change over. Let me change out the storage. So when you get to more advanced kind of shapes, you'll see how designs can change. And you can really kind of find what suits best for you. And again, these aren't making it through. There we go. Let's see now. Everything should be working. 107. And just like that. Boom, level complete. So you can see how having and utilizing more space with a tri-belt or a dual belt or even a quad belt. I don't have a quad belt. I used to have. That's what I had in my previous tutorial video. But just by these simple concepts here, messing around with a double painter and the cutter, and maximizing your space with the stackers, you can improve your output tenfold. And so if you're using storages, a storage buffer to complete levels, or if you have a fast enough belt speed to do what I do, where you can just feed it straight into the hub, then, you know, that works for you. But it wouldn't be possible without having multiple MAMs of different belt sizes. And again, there is a level completion. Boop. Alright. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry that this was a bit more sporadic, but I just wanted to kind of put these concepts out there in case anybody wants to watch this video and maybe learn a thing or two and improve their overall MAM designs. I know most people generally improve or make dual belt MAMs outright, or tri belts or quad belts. Um, Anything over a quad belt is kind of impractical. I've made a 5 belt before, which uses 6 double painters. You can see kind of the relation there. But I've made a 5 belt MAM before, but it is so much slower than this, just due to the nature and how fast all the shapes have to travel to get to the hub. Alright, But with that, thank you again for watching and sticking with me through all of my rambling.